Hi, and welcome to a very special Coworking. It is a podcast about what makes Coworking special. Everything is in the name. We're crystal clear, total transparency here. And this month, we're welcoming Anne Kirby from the Candy Factory. I was explaining to her how I would make the mistake with the candy shop, and I didn't. So anyway,
Great
they're
job.
not making or selling candies, so don't get too
No.
disappointed. I was. Well, thank you for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Love talking about co-working, so good to
Yes.
be here.
And so we were talking about the name, the Candy Factory, and it is indeed an old factory, correct?
It was. So our
Mm,
current location is not, but we started in an old candy factory, which was called Keppel. And we were there for 4 years. It was a great space to incubate. And then we moved to our current location in 2014. So we've been doing this a long time, and we did start in an old candy factory.
so that was the
Yeah.
start of everything.
Kind of. I had started a networking group called the Creative House of Lancaster because I'm based in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and
Mm,
grew that group for 3 years, so a community for 3 years before opening up a physical space. And so on day one, we had an amazing community already built. Found the Candy Factory location, stayed there, like I said, for 4 years, and then moved to
mhm.
our current space, which we house about, it's like a 25,000 square foot warehouse campus.
And so everything started with an actual candy factory, but I guess it's not only the space that made you want it that made you want to open your own space, right?
Yeah, no, the space came after building the community. It was not an if
Mm,
we build it, they will come kind of philosophy. It was very
mhm,
much a networking group. And out of that group, I was working from home. My background's in design and marketing. And
mhm,
I identified that there was a lot of the members of this group who were also working from home and felt isolated and needed a space to be able to collaborate. So I started researching co-working, and I love everything about it. I love the community building focus, and I was like, Lancaster needs this. And so I started scoping out places. So the space came after we identified that there was an actual need for this in our community.
mhm.
And then we've just organically grown over the last 13 years.
Mm. So it was started from that networking group, which I guess you invited to go. Did you have your own space from the beginning, or did you like meet up at some cafes or at some people's place, or kind of
Yeah,
randomly?
so this will age me a little bit, but um,
Nah,
when I was on MySpace before Facebook opened up to the public, so
I was on
2006.
MySpace too.
Yeah, MySpace is fabulous. I loved it because you could search for people in your community with similar interests. And
Mm,
so I wasn't originally from Lancaster area, so I did a search for people with interest in design, marketing, writing, photography, things like that. I sent 5 strangers a message like, "You don't know who I am, but I want to start this meetup group." And we would actually meet up in alternative spaces. So we would meet up at usually in bars and places like that. And then the group just grew. It went from 20 people to 40 to 80, and just kind of expanded beyond that. And we identified that I was filling. There was a void. There was a need for a space, and for people to come together and collaborate and network in a kind of a less traditional way, more casual, more friendly, more
mhm.
about building relationships.
Yeah.
And so the Candy Factory was born out of the Creative House of Lancaster with the same philosophy of, we're here to support each other, we're here to grow together, we're here to collaborate and be open to those kind of things. And so
Mhm.
what's been so wonderful about the Candy Factory is that the space started small and has grown over the years,
Yeah.
based on what the members' needs are, not me dictating what they should have, but what they need actually.
Okay, so the needs evolved around with time. At the very beginning, you were talking about another initiative you had, the Creative Lancaster, something like that.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah, so I mean, that was the group that
Hmm.
originally formed, and it was
Hmm.
like I said, it was just a meetup, and it was an amazing group of
Yeah.
creatives. But what we identified is that there was more than just creatives coming to the table. We started having,
Mm.
attorneys and accountants and other people who were looking for community, and I was like, oh, okay, it's not just exclusive to creatives. Like others are looking for community as well, and
Yeah.
how do you create a space where people feel comfortable being themselves as well as an opportunity to connect
Hmm.
and network? And so that's always been the mission of the Candy Factory is to be a place where people can come together, be authentic, socialize, as well as be very productive. So we obviously provide all the resources you need to be productive and grow a business. Or we say we save you from
Hmm.
isolation. If you're a remote worker and you're working from home, it can be very isolating and distracting. If you're trying to grow a business and you need the
Yeah.
resources or a physical space or an address, things like that, we provide all those resources. But really, what's special is the people here at the Candy Factory.
Hmm.
And most co-working spaces will say that it's definitely the community that makes them unique.
Yeah. 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 It's so interesting because, as you were saying, you went from networking event to meetup to being from to hopping from places to places to having your own space. But why exactly co-working? Why not? We were talking before going live about third places. Why not another kind of third places like a club or cafes or bar?
Well, I was self-employed and I needed a space to be able to work as well. And my network, coming from the creative house,
Hmm.
also needed that. They needed the resources, the office space, the
Yeah.
address.
Hmm.
So those things were needed, and we had a lot of great cafes in our community already. So co-working was missing. We were the first co-working space in central Pennsylvania, so
Hmm.
fairly large area. It really hadn't in 2010. It was still fairly new concept,
Yeah.
especially for our area. You had it in big cities like Philadelphia. There's a really great place called Indie Hall. Alex Hillman has done an amazing job with that location.
Hmm.
They opened a few years, they opened years before us, and I was able to actually, talk to Alex about, like, before I opened, like what you're doing and how
Hmm.
is this
Hmm.
happening in Philly, and to be able to bring that to Lancaster, Lancaster City is only about 60,000 people. It's not huge. We'd be
Hmm.
considered small, but our membership is over 300 people at the Candy Factory, which is great for a city of our size.
Yeah.
It just speaks to how great the community is. But we really needed some of those more traditional resources. And so co working definitely fit what the city needed at the time. Plus, I love everything about co working. Co working is community working together, the co and the work. There is no hyphen in
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
co working. um, and that really truly is because it's a so much about building community, and I'm a community builder,
Yeah.
and so it's just in my nature to want to do that, which you
Hmm.
really can't do if you're providing, like, trying to sell coffee or alcohol or something like that. It's just a different it's a different exchange.
It is. And I was thinking, why not do all of them together? You can have a co-working space with a bar, with a cafe. I haven't heard people have a church or a nursery. They do everything.
Well, we have like a cafe in our main hall. It's a very much
Hmm.
a cafe vibe, but everything is free. I mean, there's no fee for it. It just comes with your membership. For example, we have a large
Hmm.
espresso machine, like commercial grade. Members can get trained on how to use it so they can make espresso for other members if they're going to make it for themselves. We do have a childcare component. We have
Oh.
a sixth floor clubhouse, social club with a bar, but all of that is free. It's all included with membership.
And that's amazing. But before, I really want to talk more about that later.
Yeah.
Right now,
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
wondering I'm wondering one thing. What made you take the leap? Because you can be inspired, you can be passionate about co-working, but what made you actually open the first space?
Um, it's so hard to even
I know.
articulate the 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 why in a way, because it almost was like when I
Mhm.
started researching co-working, and we follow kind of the model that came out of
Mhm.
California, which is really about openness, accessibility, collaboration,
Yeah.
community, the philosophy, sustainability, like this philosophy of like we are here together because we're better
Mhm.
together, and that's very
Mm.
much ingrained in me. And I was super passionate about this city needs this kind of space
Yeah.
to bring people together, and not just to work. We're together to do so many other things. We host so many different events in our space, and so just craving community and seeing that there was others who craved it, and I was like, this has to happen. Like, it's not even a matter of like, should it happen? It's going to happen. We have to make this happen. And um, and I had been eyeing this one awesome warehouse. This was the old candy factory, and it was rough. I mean, this was a great place to incubate because it was
Mhm.
cheap. I mean, it was this kind of cool, funky warehouse, but it had its problems and challenges. And
Mhm.
what I would say to members is like, hey, we're going to start off with just the bare minimum. This is not your flashy WeWork by any means. We are completely different. But we're going to grow together, and we're going to add resources as we need them. And so it was a community effort. And so just having that energy around you and just being like, yes, this needs to happen, was what you know drew me to it, and gave me the energy to do it. And we found the space and opened within 6 weeks, and so it was
Ooh.
quick, and it was fun, and everyone collaborated, and everyone painted and put furniture together, and it's a community effort from the very beginning.
Mhm.
And it's been a community effort for 13 years. So when people say, oh, Anne, you've done a great job, it's like, no, this is a community effort. My
Mm.
team is amazing. This is not just me. This is I have a vision. I want to see this grow, but it's very much being able to tap into what are the needs within the community, and listening, just
Mm.
getting feedback, listening to people, and being like, oh,
Yeah.
do we really need that? Well, no, maybe we don't, but we need this. And so, how do we collaborate to make that happen?
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's been a great journey.
Yeah, and it links back to what you were saying about the needs of the community evolving across time. That
Hmm.
you had one need
Yeah,
over the other, and bit by bit, you get the feedback because you're co-working with them. So you see them
yes.
every day, and you're seeing the changes and what changes you have to prioritize and to actually implement.
For sure. And also, what can you do with the resources that you have? So some things
Hmm.
don't happen right away. You might like the childcare was on the wish list, right? It was on the wish list for
I
10
heard it's really
years.
tough to have the childcare. Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it can be really challenging. Our model is like 2-hour blocks. It's more like babysitting, like glorified babysitting. It's not like a full daycare center. It's similar to like what you'd get at a gym, and that makes it very accessible. But when there's not supervised care, parents can just go work in there with their kiddos. So sometimes it's just needing a break of change of scenery.
Yes.
And there's workstations for the parents, and the kids can play, and you can do play dates in there with other members' kids, and it's a really nice way to be family friendly, which we
Yes.
identified really quickly was a need. Like, I have 2 kids, and I was just like, we need this. I'm self employed. I needed assistance with childcare, like all of these things. Um, were not exclusive to just my needs, but just in general, the community needed that. And so, supporting women is also really important to me as
Hmm.
a woman run business. So, how we support women, especially in business, so giving them the resources they need, and childcare is definitely one of those things.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I'm
yeah.
wondering, do any people complain? Do kids or babies scream a lot and then there's some tension in the open space because one wants to focus and the other is like, I have the kids today.
Well, so we do have a play area that's set aside, that's its own space, in the
Ooh,
building. So
yeah,
it's not just out in the open. And then we have 25,000 square feet. So we're like, go somewhere else. Like, there's tons of
the
space to
space.
spread out.
Hmm.
You do not need to be near children at all. In fact, we have an entire other building with our media studio and stuff, and you can go work on that side. So it's never been disruptive. Again, a lot of our members have kids, and so it's just kind of part of the norm that there's going
Yes.
to be children in the space. It's kind of like dogs. We're pet friendly. So it's
Yeah, I was going
understood
to
that
ask about dogs then.
yes, yeah. So it's understood that we're family
Yeah,
friendly and we're dog friendly, as long as the dogs are friendly as well. Um, and so you can
and the
co-work.
kids
It's a
too.
very professional space. Yeah, yeah. The kids have to be friendly. You can be very productive
Mhm.
in our space and never see a child or never see a dog. But if you don't want to, there's more than ample space to
This
go.
way. I was wondering if there's any office where you can see kids around, just because they're family friendly, you know? It's very
Yeah.
special, I believe. Mm,
Yeah, it's really part of providing the resources that the community needs, right?
yeah, bit by
Um,
bit.
family is thing, and we are family, right? So like
Mm,
we really bring our members in as like, hey, you're joining a family. Not everyone will partake in that way. Not everyone will be as like, oh yeah, this is my co-working family, but a good percentage do because that's how we
mhm.
position ourselves. And so if you're part of a family includes all of these other things. And so why wouldn't we be family friendly?
Yeah, exactly. I heard a lot also that people members, not members, but people interested come in, they automatically qualify or disqualify themselves based on the vibes, the energies they experience when they first enter the
Yeah.
co-working. And then maybe they try, a day or something like that, but they know instantly if this is for them or not.
Totally. And we know that we're not the right spot for everyone. We
Mm,
refer to co-working spaces, all the other co-working spaces all the time. It's you're going to walk in, you're going to get our vibe right away.
mm-hmm,
You're going to get our vibe on our social, on our website. And so if it's
mm,
not your thing, then you're going to probably filter out pretty quickly if you even do sign up. So we try to be very transparent. We're very
mm-hmm,
upfront about this is who we are, and this might be a good fit. It might not be a good fit, and that's okay because there's a lot of other options out there for you.
yeah.
We don't have to be a one size fits all kind of thing. So
No, that's true. One
yeah,
size fits
and we
all.
like it that way.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm wondering why that expression even exists, It makes
yeah,
little sense when you talk about
little
it.
sense.
And I was
Yeah.
thinking, mm, weren't you scared at first to refer people to other spaces that you would lose maybe members or that the competition, would be crushing?
Yeah. Well, so since we were the first in the region, we didn't have a lot of like what we would say competition for a
Yes.
while. But I look on any other co-working space as a potential collaborator. We hosted the first PA Coworking
Hmm.
Alliance conference at the Candy Factory in 2018. We're bringing that back. We have a great relationship with other co-working spaces throughout the state.
Hmm.
I encourage any co-working space to consider themselves collaborators and not competitors of other co-working facilities and communities because there's so much more again we can do together versus competing against each other.
Yeah.
Also because every space has its own vibe, we were just talking about that,
Hmm.
is like I've never walked into a co-working space that felt like another co-working space. Everyone is different, every community is different because it's
True.
shaped by the people in the place.
Hmm.
It's not, it's, you can't just take the candy factory and replicate it in another community because it's unique to who is here. So, yeah, I would encourage everyone to consider each other collaborators and not competitors. And so
Hmm.
referring is easy because we also, in Lancaster, we're pretty unique. We're probably the only
Mm.
co-working space that has community really at the forefront. A lot of the other spaces tend to be more in Lancaster specifically, tend to be a little more kind of corporate or rent a desk kind of spaces. And so if someone's looking for that vibe or looking for a private office and we can't facilitate, we're happy to refer them to those other locations. But in our region, we have some really amazing spaces: Pursuit in Harrisburg, Rock Candy, which we helped start in Lidditz, Pennsylvania, the Grotto in York. And so we are always collaborating with these other spaces.
Mhm.
And our members, part of the co-working visa program, if you're not familiar with that, it's a global network of co-working spaces, and our members can use the visa program globally when they travel. And so they can do that regionally as well and throughout
Hmm.
the state. And it's a real benefit. And to be part of the co-working visa program is free. And so a co-working space just has to
Why
opt
not do
into
it?
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know. Why wouldn't you do it? So yeah, collaboration over competition is our motto for
every
sure.
day of the week. It's more like a
Yeah.
network of spaces where you can help each other, refer each other, and learn from each other because we talked about it before as well. I know you're part of a program with other spaces and other members and a community of community, as I like to call that.
Yes, and actually, so it's such a great community. So Kat Johnson has built this co-working
Mm.
lab. She's well known for her co-working combos, which she does every month, which are free and open to any co-working space to participate, any aspiring space. But she has like a paid lab as well that I'm part of, and it's just this resource, this rich resource for co-working facility managers or founders, and you can just collaborate and network with co-working spaces globally. And so what she has built is really impressive. And so I do suggest when I talk to people all the time who are opening up co-working
Yeah.
spaces or starting the process, and I
Hmm.
say, check out her resources. It's amazing. There's the co-working wiki, which is also amazing. The more tapped in you are with the global co-working movement, the more powerful your co-working space and experience will be, because we learn so much from what's happening in
Yes.
other spaces.
Oh, yeah.
And the pandemic was a great example of that, because we were able to have conversations with co-working spaces that were
Hmm.
experiencing things before we were, and how were they adapting?
Oh,
How were
yeah.
they pivoting? And how were we doing it on our end? And so that's the importance of the broader co-working community, and those that participate. And what's so great about Kat's community that she has built, which is mostly virtual, is the fact that it's a lot of independent spaces.
Mm.
And so we're an independent, woman-run co-working space,
Yeah.
and it's nice to be able to have conversations with other independent spaces that are not just large chains.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, yeah, and we're going back to your core value or your core, yeah, no value, independent, woman-led, woman-owned, family-friendly, pet-friendly, third place.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Third place, as well as a great business resource. Like
Mm,
we just posted a great blog about how our space in particular supports entrepreneurs, because there's so many resources. And someone who's thinking about starting a business or who just started a business, I encourage them to check out what co-working spaces are in their community. Seek
yes.
that out, because it is such a great resource. Not only does it give you a place to work and meet with clients and address, all those kind of things, it gives you a network, an immediate network of people who are interested in what you're doing, who you can talk
Mm,
about your idea, who you can get feedback from, who you can get resources, who you can hire for services. It is such an amazing, amazing resource within communities, as a business resource. And so, not only just for remote workers, everyone thinks remote workers right now because of the pandemic and this, and what we're experiencing on the remote side,
mhm.
and the future of work, as we were talking about, but just small business and how they can benefit established businesses. We have members who have their own office space, but are still members
Yeah.
of our facility because it gives them access to this rich network.
Hmm. Hmm. And as I see we're going to the end, I have to cut a bit short because I have so many other
Yeah.
questions. But the first one is, what are the future needs? What are you planning for the future in the
So
factory?
yeah, well, we are going to be expanding, so we're looking to open up neighborhood
Mm,
clubs within our community, because we're like, how do we reach little different parts of our community?
yeah.
And each club's going to have a different theme. So our next club that we're looking at, which will be very close to our current facility, will have more of a wellness theme. So thinking about
Mm,
longevity, especially focused on women and women's health, resistance training, those kind of things. So we've noticed that like there's this real need in our community for a place for people to gather, and focus on those specific things. So it would be a co-working space specifically not just for businesses in that space, but it will definitely cater to businesses who serve any kind of wellness, service or component. So
Yeah, yeah,
we're very excited for that, and that's kind of naturally grown out of the needs of our community.
yeah.
So we're excited for what's to come, and we're hoping that's going to be in the next year or so.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I was wondering, awareness, because you could have thought about um, providing wellness services to your members or well, maybe they could do it, but also fostering, supporting the wellness community is also
Yeah,
part of it, isn't it?
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, since we're coming to an end, this one last question I'd like to ask is about anything you wanted to talk about and we didn't approach yet.
Oh man. Oh,
Too many,
just got,
too many. I
I
know.
did, yeah, I did say this, and I do think it's really
Mm,
important is that people need to support these small independent co-working spaces within
mm,
their community because they are very powerful. And I know some spaces have struggled, especially coming out of the pandemic.
yeah.
And so it's really important to support these businesses, to support the independent small business in general, co-working or not co-working, and encouraging people to step out of their comfort zones. Coming out of the pandemic, people have created new habits, and those new habits aren't necessarily healthy for you. And you got to get out of that home. You got to get out of the habits. You got to get out and start socializing again. And the US in particular is going through a loneliness epidemic. Like, we have a real issue with isolation and loneliness and mental health. And we are here to help be,
Yeah.
a solution to some of those problems. So if you're suffering from isolation, if you feel lonely, seek out
Mm.
co-working. It really, truly can get you plugged into your community.
Talking about community, I'm just checking the chat, and we have Asma here from LinkedIn saying hello. So we were watching. Hello to everybody. Hello to Asma. I know she's
Hello.
coming by regularly now. And
Nice.
and if people want to contact you, what's the best way to reach out?
To reach out. Well, you can check out what's happening at the Candy Factory, which is coworkinginlancaster.com. But you can also check us out on Instagram. We have a great Instagram. It's at coworking. We got that. We were so early on, we were able to get the username at coworking, which is great. And then also LinkedIn. So if you want to hit me up on LinkedIn and connect that way, I'm always happy to make new connections.
hmm I add the links in the comment. And just before saying goodbye, there's one last comment from Jason talking about the candy factory. A member, I
It's
suppose.
very sweet. Yes, and member for a long time. We're very lucky to have members who've been around for 13 years, which is pretty incredible.
It
So,
is. It is.
uh, yeah. So shout out to Jason, who also is my partner in life,
Oh, that's
and
cute.
he is very sweet, and he has helped make the Candy Factory what it is today.
Yeah,
So I
like you were
appreciate
saying,
his
it's
comments.
a family.
It's a family for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was great.
Well, thank you so much, Anne, for everything you've been sharing.
Ah, thanks for having me. This is such a great resource, and so thank you for what you're doing within the co-working world and helping kind of drive the conversation because it's an important one to
It
have.
is. It is. And it's like you said, it has to be done, so you're just doing
Yes,
it.
that's excellent. So congratulations.
Thank you. You too. Well, on that note, goodbye and